So as you guys all know, marijuana is greatly becoming legalized recreationally around our beautiful 50 states of the United States of America, but it is still federally illegal. So as nurses, where is the boundary? You want to smoke the devil's lettuce on a Sunday afternoon when you're off of work. What is that to you? Can you do it? Yeah, you could do it. But, your employer might have a different opinion on that. So there's no laws or regulations stating that your employers should, hire you or keep you, employed. So there's no law stating that, hey, it's okay for nurses to not pass a marijuana drug test. Right, Matthew?
Yeah. So there's zero tolerance, unfortunately, that all employers are reinforcing. Even if you have a medical card, like there's still zero tolerance. And if you test positive, you might lose your license. So I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's great what people are doing, the way it's treating diseases. But we as nurses, just like PD said, it's not federally legal yet. And it has come a long way, right? Like it was a controlled one substance as heroin. So it finally kind of dropped down to where it's becoming legal, and I don't know how many states it is, but it's going to happen soon. I think all over America.
That's correct. I would say my advice for you guys is to treat it like alcohol. That's have it stay out of the workplace. You wouldn't come to work drunk. Don't come to work high. If you want to smoke marijuana on your days off or outside of work, more power to you. Go for it. If it helps you out in any kind of way, it is legal recreationally here in Illinois since January 1st. Hopefully, we're getting some nice tax dollars out of that, but we'll see. But you also got to be careful if you're looking for a new job, or if you are, currently employed, but maybe you're going for like a screening of some sort, that you don't want to, pee dirty. You don't want to have to do urine tests and have it show up positive for marijuana. And that's something you could easily avoid by just not smoking marijuana for 30 days or however long, whatever the science shows.
And the healthier you are, the quicker it could dissipate from urine if you were to smoke. And for those that are curious and do test positive, and that's a listener, there's a quick way to technically create a false negative on the drugs test. I would still try it yourself to see if it works before you go to a facility and do it. But you basically drink a gallon a day. And the reason how I found it is I read it has so much random crap. Truck drivers do this. And I know a friend that told me about this. I'm like, sure, I'll look it up. I love the human body. I think they drink a gallon of water a day. They take 20 grams of creatinine or creatine. And then they do vitamin B. So creatinine helps increase creatinine levels because you're diluting your urine so much, which is a test that they test for the urinalysis. And then you do vitamin B to kind of give you a yellow color in the urine so it doesn't look like it's completely diluted.
There you guys. Where else can you learn how to pass a drug test and learn nursing content at the same time, huh? Nowhere else besides a couple nurses, guys.
Exactly. Thank you for tuning in for that one. But ultimately, man, if I were in that situation, I think I would just refuse the test itself, because if you're a nurse and you smoke, it's not going to work out for you guys. It's zero tolerance. So you might as well just walk out of your job, man.
Don't take the risk. You might be cool with your boss, but that goes on your record. It's going to stay with you. Just because your boss is cool doesn't mean he's going to let it fly. So you got to be careful. And some employers, they don't always get along with their employees. I'm sure there's been times where someone's boss or someone's manager gave somebody a drug test because they knew they would fail it just to get out of work, and they're a great nurse. I'm sure that has happened before. But I drove by some dispensaries on my way home from the gym, and man, those lines are ridiculous here in Illinois. Those lines go out the door and around the building's corner. These people are desperate for this stuff. And I believe the stats show that I think Illinois made $5 million. They made more in a week off marijuana sales than Colorado did in 3 weeks.
Wow. So it's definitely a hit in Illinois. I wonder if it's going to put people out of jobs, the people that are kind of hustling the streets and making a living off this.
I mean, the drug dealers and the drug lords?
Yeah, those guys. Do you think they're going to still be out of a job? Or do you think supply and demand, like it's going to be, because I wonder if it's expensive or it's not worth it to even going to a pot shop to buy marijuana.
I'm not sure. I haven't entered any pot shops around here, but I'm sure I don't know how much it costs. I'm not sure if it's cheaper than your local dealer or not, but I'm sure if your dealer provides it for less, I'm sure he's still gonna have some kind of a fan base for his stuff. But I don't know. Like, a lot of people complain about, marijuana being legal, but even if you're against marijuana, like, look at it from like the taxation standpoint, the financial standpoint. It's actually not that bad of an idea, especially here in Chicago, where we're like taxed to the neck. I'm hoping maybe these taxes off marijuana will kind of lessen the other taxes, which I doubt was going to happen.
And like, I think Chicago is so silly the way it does things. So there's something called the Amusement Tax Act. And if you play PlayStation, you have to pay a tax to Chicago that you like are playing online, which is ridiculous. So technically it's like going to the amusement park. They're using that as a loophole to tax poor freaking kids that are just playing PlayStation.
It's ridiculous.
And like, to answer your question, I think Illinois is not going to lessen other taxes. Like, they just increase like the vehicle registrations and all that.
Hey man, but there is definitely like positives out of marijuana. Just because you don't want to do recreational, there are states that have it medically legal, where certain illnesses or certain diseases or disease processes are available to be treated with marijuana. Maybe you have a bad reaction to your anti-seizure medication. Maybe you could try marijuana. Maybe that'll lessen it. Maybe you don't want to get addicted to opioids or painkillers, or they constipate you too much, or you just don't feel like yourself on them. Marijuana is an option for different types of illnesses and issues.
And I think I was looking up a news article. They're making an implantable THC, like, there's like pain pumps that stimulate like your spine and it helps with the pain. They're making like implantable devices where you plant the THC and it dissolves and treats like chronic pain that's there. So I think there's gonna be some cool advancement, man. It's marijuana crossing over to the medical field. I mean, it's already like listed that it helps with like agitation for Alzheimer's. I'm sure there's a nurse that I know, and his wife takes it for bipolar. She stopped taking lithium and she's just on marijuana, and it's helping her manage her bipolar. So that's so cool how we're finding these ways that are not pharmaceutical, because pharmaceuticals aren't any better than recreational stuff, as we know.
See, my honest opinion with marijuana and other drugs is, if it helps somebody, like, why not just make it legal and just even if it's like 1% or 2% or 0.5%, our drugs that we give out now are the pharmaceutical industry. It doesn't treat everybody, or treats everybody, but doesn't necessarily help everybody. Like, why not let this be another viable option of treatment? It just, marijuana gets like this association with like, like when you watch those commercials back in the day where I don't know, Sarah just like sinks into her couch and just becomes like brain dead. That's not how it works, man. It's not how the marijuana affects you mentally.
It's a bad rep that like marijuana developed over time, and we all associate it because it's like the power of belief, man. With TV, and isn't that crazy how like mind control works in a way? Like, dude, so basically whatever the TV tells you, you almost tend to believe. And marijuana had always that rep on TV that it's for like stoners and they're lazy, they don't do shit, they just eat and like watch TV. And we're all programmed to believe that. Look at our like parents, for example. What do you think they think? They think it's like the freaking sin, man. Like, you can't be doing that stuff. It changes you as a person. And this is Polish culture, guys, for those that are listening.
That's true. It's the 21st century. We have the capabilities to genetically modify animals, DNA, cells. We genetically modify a marijuana. The marijuana that we have now is 100 times stronger than whatever they had back in the day. We can literally take two plants and, combine them to make them work in a specific way. Like, we could genetically engineer marijuana to have it be more for pain, or have it be more for anti-seizures, or have it be more for appetite stimulation. Like, we have the power to do this. Like, there's different strains for different things. It's literally like a pharmacopoeia of effects. You just modify it whichever way you want.
And look at like, for example, like fibromyalgia. I'm sure it treats like chronic pain like that, because there's people that we're unable to associate why they're having chronic pain, muscle pain. And I'm sure it's related to so many things that I'm sure I could find online, but marijuana is a key for that one. So it's interesting how we're using it with what's it called, with patients, even like edibles, man. I wonder if they start giving edibles to like cancer patients to help with pain or something like that. Like it's all freaking coming, which is so exciting.
It is. It's cool. But for you nurses out there, just be careful. It's still kind of iffy. You don't want to be positive for marijuana because that could have negative outcomes. So just be careful. So take that 30 days off of marijuana if you're trying to start a new job, and if you're somebody you do on your Sunday afternoon, just go for it. I mean, as long as it's not harming anybody, don't come to work high, and just be safe, guys.
And if you partied the night before, had a wild night, and you took a hit of the joint, I recommend you. I'm pretty sure not going to get drug tested next week, but if you do, look up the whole gallon of water, some creatine, and some vitamin B12, and I think that might help you guys out.
Or you can rewind it and figure out the exact steps that Matt has stated before.